Did you ever sit in class, staring at the blackboard and wonder, whose idea was this anyway? Who decided we all needed to wake up early, carry heavy bags, and sit in a room full of people learning algebra? The story of school and education is a wild ride starting thousands of years ago, evolving across continents, and shaping every society on Earth. Let's dive into the fascinating history of how education and schools began. And yes, even homework has a story. The earliest lessons, survival skills 101. Let's go back to the very beginning, prehistoric times. There were no classrooms, no teachers, and definitely no multiple-choice tests. But education existed. It was simple. Kids learned how to hunt, gather, and survive. Imagine a time long ago, before smartphones and the internet. Picture our ancestors, the early humans, navigating a world full of danger and uncertainty. Their school was the great outdoors, a challenging and often unforgiving environment. Survival was the ultimate goal, and education revolved around passing on essential skills. Children learned by watching and imitating their elders. They mastered the art of hunting, gathering, and building shelter. Their teachers were not professors with degrees, but experienced members of the tribe who possessed vital knowledge for survival. As humans progressed from nomadic hunter-gatherers to settled agricultural societies, something remarkable happened. We invented writing. With writing came the need for more formal education. And that's where the Sumerians, those clever Mesopotamians, enter the scene. Around 3000 BC, the Sumerians established the earliest known schools, called Edubas. These schools were primarily for boys from elite families. Students, known as schoolboys, how original, spent their days learning the complex art of cuneiform writing, the first known writing system. Imagine the pressure of carving your homework into clay tablets. Next, we travel to the land of pharaohs and pyramids, ancient Egypt. This ancient civilization, known for its monumental architecture and rich cultural heritage, has fascinated historians and tourists alike for centuries. The grandeur of the pyramids, the enigmatic Sphinx, and the serene flow of the Nile River paint a picture of a society that was both advanced and deeply spiritual. The Egyptians placed a high value on education, believing it was the key to a successful afterlife. Their reverence for knowledge was evident in their meticulous record-keeping and the elaborate tombs filled with texts meant to guide the deceased in the afterlife. Hieroglyphs, the intricate writing system of ancient Egypt, were more than just symbols. They were a bridge between the mortal world and the divine. They developed a sophisticated system of schooling, with a focus on reading, writing, and of course those intricate hieroglyphs. Schools were often attached to temples, and education was primarily reserved for the elite. Young boys, especially those destined for roles as scribes or priests, would spend years mastering the art of hieroglyphic writing. This education was rigorous and demanding, but it was also a pathway to prestige and power. Imagine the scene. A classroom filled with young scribes in training, their heads bent over papyrus scrolls, painstakingly copying hieroglyphs. The air is thick with concentration, the only sounds being the scratching of reeds on papyrus, and the occasional murmur of a student seeking help from a peer. These young learners knew that their future depended on their ability to master these complex symbols. The teacher, a stern-looking priest, paces up and down the rows, rapping any student on the head who dares to misspell Pharaoh. This figure of authority, often a priest or a senior scribe, was both feared and respected. His role was not just to impart knowledge but to instill discipline and ensure that the sacred art of writing was passed down accurately. "Tut tut," he mutters, "another mummy's boy who hasn't learned his hieroglyphs." The pressure to excel was immense and mistakes were not taken lightly. Yet, despite the challenges, these young scribes persevered, driven by the promise of a future where their skills would be highly valued. In ancient Egypt, the ability to read and write was not just a skill, it was a mark of distinction, a gateway to a world of opportunities. Section 5: Grecian Ideals, Minds and Bodies in Harmony. Now let's hop over to ancient Greece, the birthplace of democracy and those toga parties. This ancient civilization has left an indelible mark on the world, influencing everything from politics to philosophy and even our modern-day sports. The Greeks had a holistic approach to education, emphasizing both physical and intellectual development. They believed that a well-rounded individual was essential for a thriving society. This belief was deeply ingrained in their culture and was reflected in their educational practices. They believed in nurturing the whole person, a sound mind in a sound body. This philosophy was not just a lofty ideal but a practical approach to life. The Greeks understood that physical fitness and intellectual prowess were interconnected and mutually reinforcing. Boys from wealthy families attended schools called gymnasia, where they engaged in physical activities like wrestling, running, and discus throwing. These activities were not merely for entertainment but were considered essential for developing discipline, strength, and endurance. But it wasn't all brawn and no brains. The gymnasia also served as centers for intellectual pursuits. Here, students would engage in discussions, debates, and study various subjects that broadened their minds and honed their critical thinking skills. They also studied philosophy, literature, and mathematics under the guidance of renowned thinkers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. These great minds not only imparted knowledge but also encouraged their students to question, explore, and seek wisdom. This blend of physical and intellectual training created well-rounded individuals who were prepared to contribute to society in meaningful ways. The influence of this holistic approach extended beyond the gymnasia. It permeated all aspects of Greek life, including their art, drama, and civic duties. The Greeks believed that a balanced individual was better equipped to appreciate beauty, engage in civic life, and contribute to the common good. Today, the legacy of the Greek approach to education and personal development can still be seen. Modern education systems and sports programs often emphasize the importance of balancing physical activity with academic pursuits. The ancient Greeks' belief in the harmony of mind and body continues to inspire and shape our understanding of what it means to be truly educated and well-rounded. Section 6: Roman Rules, Structure, and Discipline. From the Greeks, we move on to the Romans, known for their impressive engineering skills, their love of gladiatorial combat, and their highly structured approach to education. The Romans borrowed heavily from the Greeks but added their own unique flavor. Roman education emphasized discipline and practicality. Students memorized facts, mastered Latin grammar, and learned about Roman law and history. Corporal punishment was not uncommon. A swift whack with a cane was considered an effective way to improve memory and encourage good behavior. Section 7: Medieval Minds, Monasteries, and the Rise of Universities. As the Roman Empire declined, Europe entered the Middle Ages, a period often associated with knights, castles, and a bit of a knowledge dip. But fear not, education did not disappear entirely. It found refuge in monasteries where monks diligently copied manuscripts and preserved classical learning. Gradually, as learning re-emerged, universities began to spring up in major cities like Bologna, Paris, and Oxford. These early universities were centers of intellectual ferment, attracting scholars from across Europe to debate theology, philosophy, and law. Section 8: Renaissance Revolution, the printing press, and the spread of knowledge. Fast forward to the Renaissance, a period of great artistic, scientific, and intellectual awakening. This era, spanning roughly from the 14th to the 17th century, was characterized by a renewed interest in the classical knowledge of ancient Greece and Rome. Scholars, artists, and scientists began to question the established norms and sought to explore new ideas and perspectives. This intellectual fervor set the stage for one of the most transformative inventions in human history. The invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg in the 15th century revolutionized education. Before this groundbreaking invention, books were painstakingly copied by hand, a process that was both time-consuming and expensive. Gutenberg's press, with its movable type, allowed for the mass production of books, making them more accessible to a wider audience. This democratization of knowledge had far-reaching implications. Books, once rare and expensive, became more widely available, sparking a thirst for knowledge. Libraries began to flourish, and the written word became a powerful tool for education and communication. The spread of printed materials facilitated the exchange of ideas across Europe, breaking down geographical and cultural barriers. This newfound accessibility to information played a crucial role in the advancement of various fields, from science and medicine to art and literature. Humanist thinkers like Leonardo da Vinci and Erasmus challenged traditional educational norms, advocating for a curriculum that emphasized critical thinking, creativity, and a well-rounded education. They believed that education should not be limited to religious instruction, but should encompass a broad range of subjects including the humanities, sciences, and arts. This holistic approach to education laid the foundation for modern educational systems. The Renaissance marked a turning point in the history of education, paving the way for the modern world. The innovations and ideas that emerged during this period continue to influence contemporary education, emphasizing the importance of critical thinking, creativity, and the pursuit of knowledge. The legacy of the Renaissance is a testament to the enduring power of education to transform societies and shape the future.